updates from the Alpine fleet, which are battling kind of a trough in the weather, so not much wind for them. And the weather window I talked about yesterday is actually looking more and more likely like that might actually happen. So that and more in the show today. But before we get started, of course, I hope that you, just like me, have some fresh deliciousness in your cup over there. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh. Ooh, that just hits the spot like nothing else, right? So, let's start with a little weather update because hello, Sea Wolves, and welcome back to the show. Oh boy, things are moving again. Almost exactly what we discussed yesterday, both Jean and Coleman being overcome by the rest of the fleet, but now they are stuck in the quiet part, while both Jean and Coleman have found some new wind and making some good speeds again. So it's going to get real interesting. We've got another update on Louis Burton's situation, so lots to talk about. But before we do that, I hope you have something delicious in your possibly official Sea Wolf cup. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Now I think most of you will agree with me that it actually looks pretty bad. It looks pretty serious. There seems to be this giant tear throughout his whole side of his deck, basically, even almost all the way to the waterline, at the place where he has this kind of side pole that they're using to haul out the giant sails that kind of go past the spreaders. And obviously this time takes this point takes a lot of pressure, and it seemed like the kind of constant pulling and pushing has created kind of like a diagonal crack right through the middle of it. And well, the size of it is quite shocking, and it seems that it's more or less the entire way through the deck. So personally, when I look at that situation, I also would be a little bit worried structurally, at least on that side of the boat. Of course, you gotta hope that on the other side something similar is not going to happen, but I guess both sides have been, made the same. So I would be a little bit afraid of the potential to go something wrong there also. And I don't know if you guys could understand in French, but he is basically saying that he's going to try to repair it. I guess, like most of the skippers, he has a good supply of some spare carbon and stuff with him to attempt to kind of, glue it together, for lack of a better word, on the inside. But if that is really going to be strong enough in order to sustain the boat through the really the battering that it's going to have to take in the Southern Ocean, because so far we haven't really seen a sustained period of tough circumstances. Off Finisterre, we had a little bit of like a storm for like 2 days, but in the Southern Ocean, that's going to be something that they have to deal with all the time. And it's going to be not 1 day or 2 days, often it will be sustained, multiple days, weeks sometimes, of very, very strong winds and very high sea states. So it is very important that once Louis gets there, that this particular part of his boat really is something that he can rely on. And so I hope to God that he figures out a way to repair it and checks the repairs and figures that it's stable enough. But looking at it and looking personally like how serious it is, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see him actually maybe retire from the race or come in in South Africa in order to take some longer time to maybe effect repairs and then restart the race, or actually retire. A little bit similar to what we saw Alex Thompson doing in the last race. He had, well, different damage, but of a similar seriousness, I would say, and did a lot of things to try to repair it, but ultimately had to still give up the race. So fingers crossed, I'm going to stay positive, but I have to be honest, it does look very serious to me. The other ship that is working on something is Sables on board of New Europe, who is in Gran Canaria, by the way. Thank you for correcting me, Wolf, because yesterday I said something else. And as far as we know right now, he's still there in the, well, near the marina, trying to effect repairs. Again, it's his A7 and his mainsail that was severely damaged. So he's trying to stitch something back together that he can use throughout the race, and once he's done, I assume he will start racing again soon. So I think actually within the next maybe 20 hours or so, hopefully he'll be able to start moving again. But well, that's it for the ongoing repairs and major problems right now. Let's get into the more tactical situation that's going on with Sean, Conrad and the rest of the fleet. Jump in here with me and let's take a look. So looking at Conrad Coleman, he definitely found the win and he's doing 13 knots again. Actually, we can take a look at that.
You see that? You see that? Ah! It's a new day! It's a new day. The sun has just come up, and more importantly, it's a new day because the wind is back. The boat is moving. Last night was just astonishingly calm. I have never, ever been on a boat that is so calm in the middle of the ocean. The boat was not moving, it was not making a noise. It was beautiful and peaceful. And I would normally say frustrating, but actually I've worked a lot on myself over the past couple of months, and indeed past couple of days, to really try and remain in control of my emotions and not get worked up. And I'm pretty proud of myself, actually. I remained zen, I looked after myself, I did yoga, I did stretching, I ate well, I slept well, all in preparation for this moment, for having wind, for being able to get stuck into it again. So, okay, this is great. This is good news. So because the wind is building quite quickly from zero to something a little bit nice, I get to prepare the boat for that. And so I need to restack the boat because everything is up here at the front of the boat. All of the weight, all of the food, all of the spares, all of my clothes, I jammed up here at the front of the sail locker, and that was to try and get the back of the boat as much out of the water as possible, so that it would have the least amount of drag in the water possible. So now I get to bring all of this back through this little hole and then stack on the high side. And it's a big job, but it's not even a problem at the moment because I have a high side, which means that we have wind, which means we're moving, which means we're still in the race.
Looks like he's having fun again for sure. Same, we see Jean Le Cam. Also, he's been in the wind already a little bit longer, doing a nice 14.9 knots. And Jean had fallen back to place 7 or 8 over the night, but is now back in 3rd position again. And Conrad is a little bit further back, still 24th, because he really fell a lot further back. But I think he might also climb further up to maybe position 10 or 9 pretty soon if he keeps going like this. Now if we look at the rest of the fleet, we see a picture that's, well, all too familiar looking at Jean and Conrad yesterday. So we see Sam Goodchild right now, of course, in the 1st position, but doing a painstakingly slow 3.3 knots in 3.4 knots of wind. And well, Nicolas Lundven, we see the same thing, 7.9. We see Thomas Rouillant, 7.6, a little bit better. And behind that we see Samantha Davis, Clarice Kramer. Well, they're all still just on the edge outside of that windless zone. But yeah, pretty soon they'll be doing the 3 and 4 and 5 knots that Conrad and Jean were doing earlier. And so that's why we see Jean already coming back a little bit. Now, I'm sure that they'll all, in the next 24 hours or so, most of the fleet will most likely make it either to the center of the windless zone or through. I think Sam, Thomas, and kind of the Nicolas Lundven, the front group, Sebastian Simon, is kind of most in trouble doing 2.2 knots. He's a bit too far to the east and really in a big windless pocket there. But I assume that at least the 4 of them will likely within the next 20 hours make it out of there. So they will start to make their way from somewhere here and then kind of down into the good wind. So that's good news for them. And from then on, they will more or less be able to really screech down with not that much problems from the so fearful doldrums. Because in that particular sector, as you can see here, they're not particularly super active at the moment. So it seems that there might be a good path through with not too much loss of speed and wind. On the other hand, if we look at the position of Jean and Conrad in that light, their situation is a little bit different. Because, as we discussed also earlier, they are very much in the east, and that puts them, as far as straight courses go, right kind of towards the worst part of the doldrums, where it's always widest and thickest. So really not where you want to be. And so in order to avoid that, they will have to do quite some westing to kind of get into an area where they have at least some good wind. So this will be kind of the line that they'll be looking at. If we fast forward, we see that it looks kind of reasonable, but they really shouldn't be any more east than that. Otherwise, they will most definitely get into kind of the main area here off of the coast of Africa, which is where they most likely absolutely do not want to be. But it looks good. I think all in all, over the next 48, 52 hours or so, it looks as if they'll have wind for most of it. I mean, here it won't be super much, 6, 7 knots around the edges there, maybe 9. That's enough wind for them to move. So yeah, I think that actually the doldrums will be maybe less of a problem than the Azores high was so far, but fingers crossed, we don't know. And that goes for both sides. So yeah, it will be kind of an interesting race for the next 48 hours to see who actually makes it through the doldrums in the best position in order to make their way down to the St. Helena high, of course, which is going to be the next big challenge down here. And let's take a look what that looks like right now. It seems that it's kind of either very low or not. I guess it's over here, so it's very much moved again towards South Africa for now. Let's see what it's doing. It seems currently sometimes it moves all the way to the different areas of the ocean, but it seems that for the time being it's kind of low aim toward the Cape of Good Hope, not extending too far, but if we fast forward, so 3-4 days from now, about 80 hours, that means our skippers will be hopefully somewhere around here. And it looks like they will probably have a pretty good course to move from there, either on the south side through, or could also be that some of them decide to go on the north side through if they think that heading upwind will provide them more power. I guess we'll see. We'll have to wait for that. So that's it for the update today. Thank you all very much again for watching. Make sure to like the videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Use the bell so you get all of the updates right away as they're coming in. If you want to support the channel in any other ways, we got super cool merch. You can check it all out through seawolvestv.com, and some of the merch sometimes also appears here below the video. So thank you all very much for your support, and have a great Monday, and see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.